Good morning, or at least it should still be morning by the time everybody's seated, and there should be about 5 minutes till 12 when you're seeing this. And welcome to today's lesson. Now, I've given you a lot of body parts over the last few days. You listened to me go through the spelling of them Monday, and yesterday you spent a lot of time just working with annoying little word scrambles and crosswords. But you know that just walking around knowing lists of words is not going to help you when I finally ship you off to Spain. I mean, you can't just walk through the streets going arm, leg, eyelashes. You're going to need to know how to use them in phrases like, oh my God, I broke my arm, or stop ripping off my eyelashes. So today's lesson is getting back to the health part of our health and body parts unit, and it is how to request help when you or your friend has been trampled in the running of the bulls. Now, don't say it can't happen because yes, it's very possible. You may end up there one day and you may find yourself needing to ask important phrases. Say a bull just knocks you to the side, or the jostling crowd knocks you to the side, you bump your head a little. You'll need to say things like, can I take an aspirin? Maybe it's a little worse than that. Maybe both you and your friend got a little trampled by the bulls, and you're going to have to ask questions in Spanish like, can we call an ambulance? And worst case scenario, you might find yourself requesting, can he have a nice funeral? Because that happens too. All of those use the word can, and that is the word we're going to be focusing on for the first part of class today. Poder in Spanish. Poder. Now, I know I said it was can, but take a look. What it really means is to be able. That's not something we say in English a lot. It sounds overly formal. It sounds stuffy. It's like, am I able to go to the restroom, please? No, we instead throw in the word can whenever what we really mean is to be able. Spanish, really, they both mean the same thing. Poder, to be able, can, is the word that you've got to use. And think about the verb conjugation that I've had you doing at the beginning of the week. You know how to work with that verb. The first thing you do is to chop it off and take it to its stem. Chop the ER off. That's the part that means to do something. And now that you've got the stem, you're going to want to put the correct ending on. That's where the trick comes in. You're already fine doing the endings on AR verbs, and you're getting pretty good on the ER verbs, remembering that. This was an ER verb. So you take a look at that and you say to yourself, okay, depending on who's able to do something, who can, I can, you can, he can, we can, they can, it's going to use one of these endings that are right for ER verbs. So you say to yourself, all right, I'm going to say I can, or ask, can I do something? And following the rules I've taught you so far, you say this. Now, many of you already know how to say, can I do something? Does that look right?
No, no, no.
Not at all. So, something else is going on. Take a look over by the door right now and see how to ask, can I go to the bathroom? And then over by the water cooler, I have the signs in Spanish, can I have water? Can I have tea? And you're seeing that yo puedo, or in the questions, just puedo, is the way that you're saying can I, or I can. Podo doesn't exist. What am I doing? Am I messing with your head here? No. What we need to do is learn about a special subset of words called stem changing verbs. There's not a ton of them, but there are enough that it makes it really inconvenient, and we're going to learn them today because yo puedo does not exist. Yo puedo is the way to do it. So let's start with a blank chart. Got our blank verb chart, and you see I've already shaded out the vosotros area that I hate so much. And we're going to walk through all of the I can, you can, he can forms. Let's start with the first, and I'd like you to do it on the sheet that you had passed out at the beginning. Yo puedo. Write that in. That's the one you already know. The you form, the friendly you, the familiar, is tú puedes. So you see we've got that UE weirdness working again there. And then for the third box, we're not going to go he, she, formal you. Let's just stick with she. So she can. Ella puede. You see the endings are staying the same. Now, write smaller because you're going up to the top box at the top of the next column. Nosotros podemos. And then finally the last box, which you also know has 3 of them in there. We're going to stick with the female plural, so they can. Ellas pueden. So it's pretty obvious some weird shifting is going on here. That POD has lost itself. The stem has changed. So take a look at the yo form. It changed to a UE right in there. In the tu form, again, changed to a UE. The third person, which is él, ella, or usted, that also changed to a UE. But then, weirdness of weirdness, the next thing that changes is the they form. Nosotros, take a look at it. I've marked it right up on the screen. Nosotros didn't change. It's like it just does its own thing. And to tell you the truth, the shaded out box, vosotros, that also would have just done its own thing. It would have ignored what changed. So in the past, when most people used that form, it was also another one that was just POD as its stem. So the stem change, which, ta-da, is why we call them stem changing verbs. It's an additional rule you have to know about a smaller number of verbs. It's why I teach you to say yo puedo long before I ever teach you how to conjugate poder. In fact, you might be seeing poder for the first time today. So we go back and we see that there tends to be a general pattern here. It's a bit of a curving shape, an angled shape. You'll see that it starts at the top and goes all the way down through our first column, all of the singular, and then it kind of cuts across on the bottom. And those are the areas where it changed, where the O changed to a UE. Outside of that shape, things don't change. The stem stays the same, or the way we do the charts, the nosotros just ignores what's going on and does its own thing. If you've learned something about this at another school, you might have heard a teacher refer to it as the boot, that the stems change in the boot. And I guess it does somewhat look like a boot, I guess if you had really, really long toes. But to me, it looks more like the letter L. And, of course, in my head, that's more like a lizard. Because, let's face it, lizard starts with L in Spanish and in English. And on top of that, lizards, some of them, can change their skin color. So I like thinking of it as you're changing it in the lizard. And the rule I'd like to start pushing into your head now, the lagarto is changing. Some lizards change their colors, some verbs change their stems. Obviously, poder isn't the only one that does this. I'll give you a few other common ones, and it's a much shorter video today. Here's the 4 words I'm going to have you working with for the rest of the day today. little bit of practice. Poder, since we already jumped in and took a look at the form of that. And then mover, which is to move. You see I've made that O a different color so you know that that's going to be the O to UE change. Volar, which means to fly. And one you probably already know, dormir, to sleep. When you start conjugating mover, volar, and dormir, you're going to go through the same pattern that you did for poder. Inside the lizard, the U is going to change to a UE. Outside, where nosotros lives, hey, that just ignores it, does its own. Vosotros would have just ignored it, just does its own, follows the normal rules. The rule breakers are right in the lizard who can change his skin. Some lizards change their colors, some verbs change their stems. By the way, if you go to college and end up taking a Spanish class, nobody is going to call it the lizard, they are going to call it the boot. So now your substitute is going to hand out a couple more conjugation charts, and I'd like you to walk through the conjugation of mover, volar, and dormir. Just fill them in the boxes, and then after lunch, you'll actually practice with them a little. Take care, and see you guys tomorrow.